It is not. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Life is long enough. And a sufficient generous amount has been given to us for the highest achievements, if it were all well invested. But when it is wasted in heedless luxury and spent on no good activity, we are forced at last by death's final constraint to realize that it has passed away before we knew it was passing. Wow. So it is. We are not given a short life, but we make it shorter. We are not ill-supplied, but wasteful of it. Just as when ample and princely wealth falls to a bad owner, it is squandered in a moment. But when wealth, however modest, is entrusted to a good custodian, it increases with use. So our lifetime extends amply if you manage it properly, if you're a good custodian of your time. But if each of us could have the tally of his future years set before him, as we can see our past years, how alarmed would be those who saw only a few years ahead, and how carefully we would use them. How carefully would they use them? Often a very old man has no other proof of his life, no other proof of his long life other than his age. My gosh, we cannot choose our parents, but we can choose whose children we want to be. My goodness gracious, Azam Mayo rhymes with KO, bigria.com. How's it going, guys? Go to bigria.com and the number one site. This is a one-page book review. We summarize a book in one page, basically 3 paragraphs. Quantum book reviews. bigria.com, the world's largest organization we are building of special needs business owners and real estate investors. Entrepreneurship is a secret to changing the world. We are teaching that skill so you can build it and create social mobility for yourself and others. The world's simplest instructions to create 30 grand a month. Guys, this is a book on the shortness of life. Life is long if you know how to use it. This is a book review of that book by Seneca. This is probably, so far, I've gotten so much great feedback from these book reviews. Not many of you guys are watching these. There's a lot less people watching these, but the people that are, I'm getting a lot of great feedback. Really appreciate that. This book is one of the hardest ones I've ever done because Seneca, he has so many great lines. 2,000 years ago, he was alive around the time of Jesus Christ, and the stuff he wrote down is still being used today. It still applies today. It's really remarkable. It's so hard to take this brilliance. There's lines he has where this line right here. Often a very old man has no other proof of his long life other than his age. Wow. I remember reading that. I was quite young. I read that and my uncle was like, that's true. Azam, what do you have to show for your age? You have nothing to show because you're a lazy fucking asshole. I remember this. I was like 9 years old because he was like, you've been alive 10 years. What do you have to show for it? A whole decade. And it's just such a line. Even as a child, I remember reading that thinking, often a very old man has no other proof of his long life other than his age. He has no other proof of how long he's been here other than his age. Wow. But this line right here, oh my gosh, this is like something, really think about this. We cannot choose our parents, but we can choose whose children we would want to be. The same matter that makes up you, it's the same matter that made up Ali, Steve Jobs, Da Vinci, anybody. And if you go back far enough, the guy that is related to all of us is back like 1,000 or 100 or 20 generations or something like that. He's related to like the top 1,000 people or basically all the same stuff. The neutrinos that move at basically the speed of light. Any one of those is, there's millions of them in your body right now. And it's estimated every one of them has been through every human being on earth like 5 times, right? So what's in you is in all those other people. You can be who you want to be. And we cannot choose our parents, but we can choose whose children we want to be. My gosh, there's so many brilliant lines here. A good custodian of your time. One of the things Seneca always talked about was your time. Realizing that you're going to die. One of the best lines he has, it's not in this book, is that we believe death is on the distant horizon, but instead it's behind us, taking every breath as we exhale. Every passing moment goes where else if not to death. So, man, it's just brilliant stuff. Some of this stuff I really recommend just take a second and read and just absorb it. Just like, wow, this is really something. This is a guy who's thinking on another level. This guy's like on an Azam Mayo level, right? This guy's really a lot of really cool stuff here. Pretty amazing stuff here. Lucius Annius Seneca the Younger, famous Roman philosopher and father of the modern essay. The modern essay was actually based on him and his work, and a lot of these, he was one of the first pioneers of this. Many gems in his work. This is a collection of 3 big essays, this book on the shortness of life. Azam's summary, 1-sentence thoughts that will help you make the most of your very limited time. That's really what this book is about. How to the thoughts you should have that give you the most of your very, very limited time. So act now and adapt. That was the main thing I just went over earlier, but here's the second one. Then we have one more after this. Act now and adapt. The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy, which hangs upon tomorrow and loses today. I love that line. You're arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in... Mike, there's another one. You are arranging what lies in fortune's control and abandoning what lies in yours. What are you looking at? To what goal are you straining? The whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately. Listen to the cry of the greatest poet, who, as though inspired with divine utterance, sings salutary verses. Life's finest day for wretched mortals here is always first to flee. Why do you linger, he means? Why are you idle? If you don't grasp it at first, it flees. And even if you do grasp it, it will still flee. So you must get this in your head. So you must match time's swiftness with your speed in using it. Oh my gosh, the brilliance. And you must drink as as quickly as though from a rapid stream that will not always flow. This idea that your life is a melting block of ice. Every sip of time that you're having gives you one less. I love to match time swiftness with your speed in using it. This is something, these are lines that I've sometimes as we're doing this, as we're putting this together, people are like, oh my gosh, that's where you got it from. That's what, and I always say Seneca said it. Obviously I give him credit, but we've got things from him and many other people as well. Steve Jobs, another one, had a lot of great stuff, but this is really this idea that, don't spend twice as much time executing as you do 3 times, 10 times, 20 times as much plan executing as you are planning. Plan while you execute. Fix the airplane while you're taking off. Thus, I shall sail unless something happens, and I shall become a praetor unless something prevents me, and my business will be successful unless something interferes. That is why we say nothing happens to the wise man against his expectation. Nothing happens to the wise man against his expectation. This is something I've used this line many times. It's the Mayweather line, right? Mayweather talked about this. Be ready for anything. Be ready to adapt, and you'll never be surprised. Know that your plan A is never going to work. It's always going to be your plan D or E or F or G or Z or whatever. Nothing happens to the wise man against his expectation. He's always ready to adapt. That's the purpose of what of him moving forward. We remove from him not the chances that befall. Oh goodness, gosh, man, this is so. We remove from him not from the chances that befall mankind, but from their mistakes. Nor do all things turn out for him as he wished, but as he reckoned. And above all, he reckoned that something could block his plans. So it's not that everything comes out the way you want it to, that you're expecting something to get in the way, but you're prepared for it and you're willing to go through it and willing to Mayweather it and come out with a W. But inevitably, the mind can cope more easily with the distress arising from disappointed longings if you have not promised it certain success. This idea that stay away from the D word. Don't ever get discouraged. Make sure that you've got 30, 50 different things. All we do with our companies, the reason why we come up with checklists and policies, all this stuff every time, it's the same. We were just talking about this earlier. It's why as soon as you get upset, as soon as something goes, it doesn't take much to knock the average person off orbit, right? They get the slightest thing happens and they're just going crazy. But if you have a checklist that absorbs for those corrections, that absorbs for those little maladjustments, those tiny little calibrations that you need to make, and you just get stronger and stronger every day, eventually when you go out into the world and you go out and you slay these demons, you are able to adjust your expectations in alignment with what's happening. It's really something that gives you a great deal of power. The fact that you can go out and adjust, it really is something really cool. Okay, so eat demons and you take their power. This is a line we've used many times. This is a really eloquent way of putting that. He who fears death will never do anything worthy of a living man. If a man stirs himself to face the worst of disasters and defeats the evils which overwhelm others, anti-fragility, then he wears those very sorrows like a sacred badge. For we are naturally disposed to admire more than anything else the man who shows fortitude in adversity. What you kill, you absorb its power. When you kill a fear, you absorb that fear's power. That fear that you had now becomes something that empowers you, and you get higher and higher and higher. He who wears those very sorrows like a sacred badge, man, I love it. In any case, the mind must be recalled from external objects into itself. It must trust in itself, rejoice in itself, admire its own things. It must withdraw as much as possible from the affairs of others and devote its attention to itself. It must not feel losses and should take a kindly view even of misfortunes. When a shipwreck was reported and he heard it that all his possessions had been sunk, our founder Zeno said, fortune bid me a less encumbered philosopher. Remember, think about losing everything. Everything's gone, and all you have to say is, fortune bid me a less encumbered philosopher. This is our attitude with everything. No matter what happens, it ain't no thing. When a tyrant threatened to kill the philosopher Theodorus and indeed leave him unburied, he replied, you can please yourself, and my half pint of blood is in your power. But as to my burial, you are a fool if you think it matters to me whether I rot above or below the ground. Ain't no thing. Do what you want with my body. I don't care. Julius Canus, an outstandingly fine man whom we can admire, though he was born in our age, had a long dispute with Gaius. And as he was going away, the Phalaris said to him, in case you are deluding yourself with foolish hopes, I have ordered you to be led off to execution. His reply was, I thank you, noble emperor. You're going to die. They're going to kill you. He's trying to intimidate you. And you say, I thank you. Ain't no thing. This is really probably, I was thinking about what is the number one thing I want to convey to you. If I had one lesson right now that is the most, this book, I've actually, Seneca's stuff and his work, I've read many times. If I had one thing to convey to you right now, if you are watching this and you want to get, and you're not reading books, you should get the benefit of a book just from going through this video. That's the idea. You watch like a 3 to 5 minute video. It's like reading a book. This concept is one of the most important things that's shaping our life right now. If I asked you, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen to you? What would it be? Think about that for a second. And instantly your mind doesn't go to what could happen to you, does it? It goes to what could happen to someone you care about, specifically your kids, right? That would be about the worst thing that could happen to you right now if something awful, terrible happens to your kids. And it's even worse if there's nothing you can do to help. And what if there's nothing anybody on earth knows how to do to help? That exact situation is what so many of our heroes are in right now. The world that I live in, the world within special needs, we have terminal illness, mental illness. This is what we're dealing with every day. And in therapy and group and in sessions and through just regular instructions, this is what we've developed. We've developed different methods and techniques of dealing with this. And one of the things we have is what we call the thankful cuz. No matter what happens to you, you go and the test says, you know what, you're in stage 4 now. You know what we start with saying? I'm thankful cuz. I'm thankful because. That's outstanding because. That's amazing because. I'm fill in the blank. And this is one of the methods we've been using to, brainwash yourself into moving forward and making badass things happen. It's not that when these things happen, this isn't about coping. I'm not interested in helping people cope with this stuff. We want to help them win, persevere, dominate. There's a great line in Ace Ventura that we've been using where Jim Carrey has to go find this girl, this girl, and the African tribe is like, one of the guys says to him, the translator says, after 3 days or something like that, we will come find you, and if you have not found the girl, we will smash your skull open with this very big rock or something like that. And in the movie, Jim Carrey looks at him and he's like, super. It's pretty funny. But there's a deleted scene, another version of that, an alternate scene, where as the guy says, we will find you and smash your skull open with this very big rock. And he sits there and he's thinking for a second. He's like, frankly, I would have it no other way. That's a line we've used many times ever since that movie came out. Just me and my cousins, my family have said that many times. Like, frankly, I would have it no other way. It really applies in many situations. And it's something we've used as a thankful cause, when something terrible and awful and something that would bring other people down. Again, anti-fragility. It's this is a very high frequency thought, anti-fragile, right? That what brings other people down, it's not that it doesn't bring you down, it actually brings you higher, right? So when something terrible or awful happens, we say, it's something like I'm thankful cause, or we say something that gets you through it. The idea of it ain't no thing. The idea of I laugh at it. Oh, that's amazing. That's beautiful. That's spectacular because that's exactly what I wanted. We have one of our heroes recently she has an intestinal issue, and they went and her mom was sitting there. This is, rough stuff, with Anna actually holding Anna's hands, crying like, man, she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do if the test comes back and it has something, not great on it. She's sitting there crying about it. And in situations like that, it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, this is just, all this stuff that I'm talking about is like, it's not about money stuff, but it's like, we're dealing with this stuff anyway. And it's like, when we're talking about like money, making 10, 30 grand a month, that's really our only solution. But it's more of, listen, this situation you've got going on, I have no idea how to deal with that. But what we can do is work on this other stuff. And I don't know if it's your jam or not, but if it is, I can promise 2 things. It'll be, number 1, it'll be really fun. Number 2, it'll be really profitable. And that's what we do. We use this to build confidence, to build your social income, your social mobility up, but it also becomes something to take your mind off the obvious dread of death. It's like Seneca's all about death and appreciating your life. And I realized, like, as I was putting this together, this class, this is really like a kind of emotional thing for me to do, because I didn't realize all these years that I've been watching Seneca since I was like 9, 10 years old, or reading Seneca, or I've been introduced to his stuff. It applies to my life now more than any other time, because I'm around death and I'm around this stuff all the time. And I've learned to love life. And the reason why our heroes that are in the special needs category do so well is because they don't have a choice. They're fucking out of time, man. I mean, they're going through, and by the way, just a quick note, shame on you for ever thinking you have any real problems. You don't. It's a walk in the park. You don't know what a real life could be. Your worst problem that you've had, the worst challenge, the worst day you've had, the worst part of your day, I promise you, I can name you 100 people that are praying, begging for that to be their biggest problem. Like, it's really pretty, it puts things in perspective. But my point, anyway, they came back and they said basically that the issue had spread, and now they're gonna have to do this surgery that's very difficult to do because they've already taken out important parts of this young lady, one of our heroes' intestines, and if they go further, it could cause problems. But it's so bad that basically they might as well try what they can, and it's a very dangerous surgery, and it's a chance of there's a high chance of her not making it. They give her this, they're giving them this data. She looks over this little clipboard like she knows what she's looking at. She doesn't. She hands it back to him and she says, frankly, I would have it no other way. And the whole room explodes. That's what I'm talking about, man. High frequency thinking ain't no thing, man. We're all gonna go, and what we can do is make sure that when death smiles at you, you can smile back, right? This idea that I love it, man. I talk about this all day. I love this, man. It's just like, I hope you're getting 1% out of this that I've gotten out of this, man. Go out, live your life, man. Just go out, act now, immediately, live right now, live immediately, calibrate as you go, eat demons, you take their power. Make sure you're living your life, because it's not gonna, every sip of you right now, I think about this all the time. You right now are closer to death than you were when you started watching this video. What do you have to show for it? If nothing, I truly apologize. You have honesty, you have 1,000 apologies, and go watch something else, consume something else that gets your high frequency thinking up. Everything I do is to make sure that when you're done, not only is your frequency higher, and not only is your thinking higher, not only are you actually operating at a better level, but you're closer to being able to create social mobility for yourself and others, and bring people up and do more with the limited time that we all have. You guys, that's the book review of Seneca's on the shortness of life. Live life. I love you.